One Piece, chapter 1088 is here, and we are here to talk about it. My name is Sai, and let's just get right into it. Once you pop open the chapter, the first thing you'll see is a color page spread promoting the One Piece live action show, since all of the characters here on this page are major players in the East Blue Saga. But if you look closely, you'll notice that we're missing one very important person. My man, Don D. Krieg, is nowhere to be seen. I know some people say it's the guy behind Sanji, but that is not him. That is Axe-Hand Morgan. Where is my man Krieg? So jokes aside and into the chapter, we see a flashback that took place about 2 years ago. We have Koby and the boys partaking in one of Garp's classes. What I liked about this flashback is that we actually get to see the old school version of Koby again. And not just that, but we also have Helmeppo, Kujaku, and Prince Groose also making an appearance. Curious enough though, Hibari is nowhere in sight, and there are a lot of theories out there that Hibari might actually be Akainu's daughter, so this could explain where she's at. Maybe she's getting some special lessons from her dad. If you guys are wondering why that's such a big theory out in Japan, it's simply because Hibari and Akainu are the only two characters in the series that just so happen to speak in the same Hiroshima dialect. And not just that, but in the Chopper spin-off, we actually see a character that looks just like Hibari, and she has a dad who just so happens to look like Akainu. So in Garp's classroom, he teaches everyone that you should always prioritize the lives of those who are youngest, because they have so much more future and potential ahead of them when in comparison to someone older. What I like most about Garp's lesson here is that he embodies this lesson. This is who he is to a T. Because by the end of the chapter, and even going back to chapter 1080, he prioritizes the future rather than the older generation. Even if he falls in line with the older generation, he is willing to sacrifice himself for those who are younger. Going through this little flashback with Garp and seeing how Garp ends off this chapter makes me respect him 10 times more than I already did. But with that being said, there was somebody who didn't appreciate Garp's lesson, and that was the random Marine instructor who ended up hitting Garp in the head with a baseball bat because she says that all lives are equal. But Garp doubles down and he says, no, the youngsters are worth way more because their potential is limitless. And actually, going on to the Amazon Lily flashback now, we get a perfect example of how all lives really are not equal. So we cut back a few weeks ago and we're on Amazon Lily. Turns out that Akainu and the top brass at Navy HQ have not given Yamakaji and Koby permission to take on Blackbeard, which is really unfortunate because we all know that Yamakaji could solo the Blackbeard Pirates, so really sad to see that Akainu did not give them the green light here. But because of that, Yamakaji and Koby have to watch as Blackbeard nonchalantly goes around and starts capturing their subordinates. 800 Marines captured just like that, a battleship captured just like that, and they can't do a single thing about it because they don't want to start a war against a Yonko. And I will admit, while it's a tough pill to swallow, it does make sense because the Marines are spread thin right now. Not only was this around the same time as the Reverie, but we had 7 nations around the world rebelling. We have Buggy and Cross Guild hunting down Marines. There are so many things going on right now that I almost don't blame Akainu for not wanting to greenlight a fight against Blackbeard. But thankfully though, for the captured Marines, Koby is here, right? We don't have Akainu, but we have Koby here, and he is willing to sacrifice himself in exchange for the 800 Marines and battleship that Blackbeard was just about to walk away with. And we see a prime example that all lives are not equal, because Blackbeard himself, even Blackbeard, knows that youngsters, especially Koby, have limitless potential. Blackbeard realizes that Koby is worth way more than the 800 Marines that he has in tow. And here's the thing, Blackbeard, out of everybody, right? Maybe not Garp, of course, because Garp is Koby's mentor, but Blackbeard knows Koby's potential because he's witnessed it twice. Here on Amazon Lily, when he was the last Marine standing against Boa Hancock, and 2, Koby is the hero of Rocky Port. Koby helped Blackbeard take down Wang Ji. If there's any pirate in the world, other than Luffy, that knows how strong Koby can be in the future, it's Blackbeard. The one thing that I thought was kind of interesting, or the one thing that I thought was missing, would be the Seraphim, because they're not inside at all. S-Hawk and S-Snake were on the island with Koby and Yamakaji. S-Hawk even clashed with Blackbeard for a second. So I'm kind of surprised that Blackbeard didn't bring them up in any capacity, or at least try to capture them. But maybe Blackbeard learned that without the command ship, that the Seraphim won't listen to him. They would be horrible hostages at the end of the day. So we cut back to present-day Hachinosu, and Avalo Pizzaro's hand is about to rain down on Garp's battleship. Tashigi and Kujaku both deducted that they cannot stop this hand themselves. They need to abandon ship. Honestly, I'm a little bit disappointed that Tashigi couldn't even try to cut down the hand, but maybe this hand is just really powerful. Maybe Kujaku is not underselling it. We're all calling this a Pika level looking attack, but maybe it's so much more than that. If you were to put Avalo Pizzaro and Pika in a room, I do think Pizarro would be a lot more powerful than Pika. So maybe that is what we're dealing with here. Maybe Tashigi really cannot cut this hand. Another person who obviously cannot cut this hand would be Bogard, who is nowhere in sight. Bogard actually isn't even in this entire chapter. Let that soak in for a little bit, because I have been on the anti-Bogard agenda for a long time now. Because here's the thing. I joke around a lot. I joke about Don Krieg being powerful. I joke about Yamakaji being powerful. But I don't actually believe that. I am purely joking. Bogard transcended through the memes, and people actually started to believe that Bogard was going to do something impactful this chapter. And I feel like this is Oda bringing us back to reality, saying, yes, Bogard's here, Bogard's a great joke, but this isn't Bogard's time to shine. Bogard isn't going to be the next hero of the Marines. Bogard isn't the future. Leave that up to the boys back on Hachinosu, which are the ones who Garp believes can take down Avalo Pizzaro's hand. So yeah, Garp entrusts this entire mission to the boys, and Garp said that he will create an opening for them. Koby is to destroy the hand, Garus is to stop the debris, and Helmeppo's job is to protect them while they do it. I think my favorite part about this whole segment here is that Garp has so much faith in the new generation. Koby doesn't even know how he's going to destroy the hand-arm yet, but Garp believes in him. When nobody believes in you, Garp will. And he said, hey guys, do not doubt yourselves in the heat of the moment. Just jump. And boom, all of them start taking off. Kuzan gets back over and says, hey Garp, where are you going, right? Where are you going with those wounds? Garp says it's just a flesh wound, but he also says that he doesn't have time to play with Kuzan. So what does Garp do? Garp blitzes Kuzan. He can't even react. He gets knocked down to the ground. And then Garp starts blitzing the entirety of Hachinosu all the way up to Avalo Pizzaro, and he lobotomizes the skull. One thing that I thought was kind of funny is that when Kuzan comes and confronts Garp this chapter, he's missing the glasses he had last chapter. And going even farther back to chapter 1081, when Garp uses Blue Hole on him, Kuzan loses his jacket as well. So it seems like every time Garp hits Kuzan, he loses another article of clothing. Imagine what would happen if Garp just went in with a flurry of punches. Now that would be a nightmare. So once Garp creates this opening on Pizarro, we cut back to the boys and we see that Helmeppo is trying to cover their 6. What happens though is that we have some random pirate shoot a cannonball at them. And to buy them some time and to protect them, Helmeppo steps into the field. He tries to cut the cannonball, but he doesn't make it in time and it just blows up in his face. Honestly, I kind of felt embarrassed for Helmeppo, which sounds weird, but Koby gets a glow up this chapter, Garus shows off this chapter, but Helmeppo doesn't. I mean, I like the fact that Helmeppo cares so much about Koby and Garus that he's willing to take a cannonball for them, but brother, cutting a cannonball in half is the least you could do. Zoro in the East Blue Saga could cut a cannonball in half, and you're telling me Helmeppo can't? All I want to say. But either way, I don't see this as bad for Helmeppo. He has taken the steps towards friendship seriously. He is willing to tank a cannonball for them. I like it. I think while Helmeppo didn't show any physical abilities or techniques in this chapter, he did show a lot of emotional growth, and I can appreciate that. So while all of this is going on, Garus asks Koby one more time, "What are you going to do about this arm?" And Koby simply responds and he says, "I am going to live up to his expectations." And I got chills. I was like, whoa, Koby, calm down, brother. What are you gonna do? He jumps in the air, and that is when we start the flashback. You know it's about to get crazy when we get a flashback of somebody training. What I love most about this flashback is that Koby acknowledges his faults. He says that he isn't as strong as the other Marines around him. So to make up for that, he has to train 100 to 200 times more just to catch up. And he's true to his word. He is committed. He is showing his willpower, because even after Garp trains him all day, Koby sneaks out at night to find a battleship bag to punch until his knuckles and hands bruise. Koby is that guy. To anybody who says that Koby doesn't have willpower, show them this flashback, because this is Koby's commitment towards being a great Marine. Last chapter, when we first learned about the battleship bags, I was looking around for Koby's ship because I felt like this is something Koby would do. If Koby wants to be the next Garp, the next hero of the Marines, he needs a battleship bag. He doesn't have a devil fruit. He can't practice any other way, so he has to boost up those physical abilities. And I just love the fact that Garp is the one having this flashback. Garp looks back at this entire moment and he smiles. I absolutely love it, because this is what Garp always wanted. I'm assuming this is what Garp wanted for Dragon, right? He was upset that Dragon became a revolutionary. This is what he wanted for Luffy. Luffy became a pirate. This is what he wanted for Kuzan, and Kuzan was great for the most part, but Kuzan went awry at the very end, and now he's on the opposing team. Koby is like Garp's last chance at leaving a legacy behind. And here we have it. Everything is finally paying off in this next page. Nobody believes in Koby except for Garp. And Koby realizes this. He's living up to those expectations. He says, if I don't do this, hundreds of people will die. He winds back the fist. We see the black lightning, and then he lets it rip. We see the honesty impact in full effect, destroying Avalo Pizzaro's entire arm. Not just the hand, right? The hand is one thing, but the entire arm is blown to bits. And now, this is where we start the very toxic debate of whether or not this is Conqueror's coding or advanced armament. So I've been tapping in and seeing what people have been saying for both sides. And honestly, I don't think anybody has really made a bad opinion. I would say that the reason there's so much debate around this is simply because Oda is a little bit inconsistent when it comes to what Black Lightning means. We see Black Lightning whenever somebody does use Conqueror's coding and Conqueror's Haki. But sometimes we'll also see Black Lightning when people aren't using Conqueror's Haki or Conqueror's coding. That's just what it boils down to. That's why so many people are sitting around debating about whether or not this is Conqueror's. No one in this debate is 100% right or 100% wrong. Everybody just has their own opinions on this until Oda definitively says otherwise. Where I stand though, now it's time to throw my opinion in the mix. I think this is Conqueror's coding. With how this is being built up and with the way it looks, to me, this looks like Conqueror's coding. Because yes, he winds back the face, you see the Black Lightning, but when he throws it, you can actually see that Koby's over here. You have the impact, right? You got the impact, and then you have Black Lightning away from Koby. Not on his fist anymore, but away from Koby. There's distance there. He doesn't ever, at least from what we've seen, he doesn't actually touch Avalo Pizzaro's hand. It's that blast, and that blast has Black Lightning around it. So I am more inclined to say that this is Conqueror's coding. And you could argue that the Black Lightning lines are really thin. They're not that pronounced like when Luffy attacked Kaido, and I think that's fair. But here's the thing, Koby, I doubt, knows that he even has Conqueror's coding. I doubt Koby even knows that he used Conqueror's Haki in this attack. He's not thinking. All Koby is thinking about is saving innocent people. So yeah, this can be Conqueror's coding, this can be armament Haki, but either way, Koby saved everyone, and it is a very impressive showing. And let's be real, if Koby wants to be an admiral by the end of the story, he's gonna need something in his arsenal if he doesn't have a devil fruit. So, in my opinion, it was more of a win he would unlock Conqueror's Haki rather than an if. But yes, I would love to hear what you guys have to say down below. Do you think this is Conqueror's coding? Do you think it's armament? I would love to hear your opinions down below, but try to keep it not so toxic, because I've seen a lot of people go crazy on this argument. Also, one more thing I do want to debunk, because I've seen a lot of people say this one too about Conqueror's coding, is that whenever somebody uses Conqueror's coding, there's always a sound effect behind it. That's not always the case, because in this panel right here, where Luffy first uses Conqueror's coding, there's no sound effects. So after Koby destroys Pizarro's arm, Avalo Pizzaro is reeling from this attack. The dude's fallen back. You see blood all running up his arm. It's really cool. And then we have the debris falling. That is our next big hurdle. But this is when Rear Admiral Gru steps in and he uses a clay web to stop it. After the debris has been dealt with, Helmeppo grabs Koby and all three of our boys land on Garp's battleship. But just like Bogard, Garp is nowhere in sight. That is when we see Tashigi's Denden Mushi ring and Garp is on the other side of the line, and he tells everyone on board the ship that this operation was a massive success. Their victory today dealt a massive blow to pirates everywhere, and that everyone on board that ship are the future of the Marines. And that line hit hard. Even though Garp is going down, he got the better end of the deal just because Koby managed to escape. He managed to save someone that he cared about. This is the exact opposite of Marineford. Garp couldn't save Ace. And what happened? Garp left frowning. Garp showed up at Windmill Village just to get beaten up by Dadan. That is what it is. But this time around, it's different. Garp created this narrative. Garp saved someone. And even though we can look at this chapter and say, you know, Garp kind of fell off, Garp lost his battle, that's not how Garp sees it. To Garp, this is a massive W. Shoutouts to Kuzan, though, for stabbing him through the chest and freezing him. My man, right? So, Kuzan, even though he is the one who's dealing the final blow to him, you can tell Kuzan is not happy. Oda, even though Oda got rid of this dude's sunglasses, Oda still didn't want to show us Kuzan's eyes. I guarantee you Kuzan's crying. Even if he has no tears rolling down those cheeks, that man is crying inside. When Garp says all of you are the future of the Marines, there's a small part of me that wonders if he's also referring to Kuzan. Because there could be a chance that even Garp knows that Kuzan is just doing what he has to do, and that he might come back to the Marines in the future. Not to mention, to show that Kuzan is still technically on our side, Pizarro mentions earlier that Kuzan can just freeze the ship and stop it from escaping, but instead of doing that, here he is, witnessing Garp's final moments instead. The one question I want to pose to Kuzan is, was it worth it? Hopefully, Kuzan's end goal justifies everything he's going through, because right now I don't know what his end goal is. We're all assuming that Kuzan's still a good guy, that he's working towards some greater good that we just can't see yet. But as it stands right now, he's not looking too hot. I've seen some theories of people saying that he could be a Revolutionary Army spy, but I don't follow that line of logic quite yet. Maybe I'll change, as time goes on. But right now, Kuzan very much feels like an independent person. He doesn't have anybody behind him. He's not affiliated with SWORD because he probably wouldn't do any of this. He's probably not affiliated with Dragon because, yes, he could have ties to the Revolutionary Army, but why would Dragon waste his time with Blackbeard when Blackbeard has nothing to do with the world government, the Gorosei, or even the Holy Knights? So that aspect to me just doesn't make sense quite yet. But yeah, I don't know what Kuzan's doing. I don't know what goal he's working towards. Maybe this is some grand plan to take down Blackbeard, but I just honestly have no clue. And I would love to hear what you guys have to say. How do you feel about Kuzan? Do you still think he's a good guy? And if so, who do you think he's working with or for? And also, what is his end goal? The one person I can maybe see Kuzan working with would be Akainu. I know that sounds ridiculous, and obviously there's a lot of bad blood there, but it could all be a cover-up, and Kuzan could just be a super secret sword member waiting to stab Blackbeard in the back when the time is right. But that's like the only thing I have. Like, I am grasping for straws as to what Kuzan might be doing here. So now that Garp is frozen and is a hostage of the Blackbeard Pirates, it does beg the question of what are they going to do with him? And I automatically revert back to chapter 1080, the obvious answer in my opinion, that maybe they want to use Garp as a bargaining chip to make Blackbeard the king of Hachinosu, to have him become a part of the world government. I feel like that's the obvious answer. Another cool answer though would be to have Pudding alter his memories. Maybe we'll go through, pull out some secret documents out of Garp's brain, or maybe Pudding can even make it to where Garp is on their side. I think that one's kind of ludicrous, but it is a possibility. A third outcome we could see from this is that maybe if the Navy doesn't want to play ball and they don't want Garp back, maybe Blackbeard will sell Garp off to Cross Guild for the 3 billion berry bounty. Personally, I don't see that turning out super well since I don't think Buggy can keep Garp under wraps, but hey, that is on the table. But yeah, now that Garp is captured and with the sword members witnessing Garp's quote final moments, I really do feel like the Navy have to act on this. Sakazuki cannot avoid the PR disaster it would be if they do not try to rescue the legendary hero of the Marines, somebody that everybody knows. Sengoku, Suru, all the old head, everybody younger, they've most likely ran into Garp one way or another. Garp is that guy. If they don't move now to save Garp, I feel like all Marine troops will just instantly lose morale and maybe even not want to follow Akainu anymore. But that's just how I think it might go, and I feel like they will have to start a war against Blackbeard to get him back. And here's the thing, even if Blackbeard says, hey, I'm gonna give you Garp if you make me king, I don't know if the world government would even play ball with that. So maybe this is a scenario where the world government and the Marines start to go different ways. And if that happens, that could open the door for a lot of crazy scenarios. So now, the last thing I do want to bring up with Hachinosu would be Moria and Perona, because we do know that they were on this island when Koby broke out of his cell. Koby actually freed Moria. So it does beg the question of where are they? What are they doing? Because they have not made an appearance in the last 4 Hachinosu chapters. As it stands right now, things aren't looking too good if they were to make an appearance. If Moria and Perona showed up in the middle of this fight right here, Garp laying on the ground frozen, and all the Blackbeard Pirates and Kuzan here, I don't think they would make it out. So they probably escaped incognito. So now we end off this chapter with the news that Egghead Island is under siege by Emperor Straw Hat Luffy. It's pretty crazy, but the Marines have finally showed up to Egghead after 20 chapters of them talking about it. These guys took off at chapter 1060. It is chapter 1088, and they have just now arrived. Absolutely insane, and I am super excited to see how Kizaru will perform now that he made it. Because we saw a crazy performance from Kuzan. Even though Kuzan didn't beat Garp one-on-one, and even though Kuzan got blitzed by Garp, I still think that Kuzan made a really good showing considering who he was up against. One thing I really do wish we get to see with Kizaru though, is I really hope we get to finally see what a Logia awakening looks like. I was hoping we'd get to see that when Kuzan was squaring off against Garp, but that didn't really pan out. So maybe Kuzan will be the first awakening from a Logia we will get to see in the series. Also, big shoutouts to Big News Morgans because he actually listened to Vivi. Big News Morgans originally wanted to post a headline saying that Luffy has kidnapped and is holding Dr. Vegapunk hostage. but Vivi was able to talk him out of it, and now the headline reads a little bit differently. And now, on to the comments from the previous video. The first one we have says, just speculating, but what if Perona and Moria are on the Blackbeard ship outside of Egghead? Like maybe they stole the ship and fled in that direction. I don't know why Oda would do that, but hey, it could happen. And hey, I agree, One Piece is wacky, anything can happen. And also, I just want to remind you guys how fast it was for Garp to go from the marine base off the coast of Egghead Island all the way to Hachinosu. It didn't take that much time. Hachinosu isn't far away. So Moria and Perona leaving Hachinosu and arriving at Egghead Island in a timely fashion isn't too far out of the question. But while that could happen, I do think the people on their way to Egghead Island is still Lafitte and Katarina Devon, since we haven't seen them yet. We've seen every Blackbeard member recently except for them. Well, technically we saw Katarina Devon, but that was like Amazon Lily and the Amazon Lily flashback. But Lafitte though, that guy's been MIA like the entire time. On to the next comment. They say, Vasco Shot basically did one move and said, hey, that's all I can do, and left. Hey. We cannot slander my man Vasco Shot. Hear me out. I'm just gonna say it as it is, but did you notice that Garp wanted smoke with all of the Blackbeard pirates, but Garp was too afraid to attack Vasco Shot? In that final panel, all I gotta say is that Vasco Shot hasn't been hit once. He's still at 100% capacity. Coincidence? I don't think so. The next comment says, now that Koby is getting set up as the next generation's Garp, I can see Luffy teaming up with SWORD to defeat Blackbeard. And that's how we get the God Valley flashback. We'll get it when Garp sees the new generation's Roger and Garp teaming up against Rocks. And I really love this. I've been saying this for the longest time now, but Blackbeard is like the #1 Rox D. Zebek fanboy. He is trying to follow in Rox's footsteps. If Blackbeard is this generation's Rox D. Zebek, and Luffy is this generation's Roger, and Koby is this generation's Garp, I feel like their battle is going to be coming soon. And I would love to hear what you guys have to say about that. Are you looking forward to the SWORD and Straw Hat team up? And now, the last comment says, Kuzan is not letting the Blackbeard crew kill Garp. He's giving the illusion of killing Garp. He might really be cauterizing the wound given by Shiryu. Then, he freezes Garp's body the same way he froze Jaguar D. Sol, who is still alive present day. He gave the Blackbeard crew a highly prized hostage, or so it seems, until Garp recovers. I like that idea, but hear me out. The minute Garp recovers, even if he can recover while being frozen, Blackbeard, Van Augur, Doc Q, Burgess, Lafitte, Devon, a lot more people are going to be home by the time Garp recovers, even if he does, because you can't really recover while you're frozen. So even if Kuzan is hypothetically saving Garp, I do think that Garp's situation won't exactly get better over time. So I do think that somebody will have to come and save Garp from this situation. But I would love to hear what you guys have to say. What do you think about this chapter? How do you feel about Garp going down? What do you think about Koby and his potential Haki feats? I would love to hear what everybody has to say down below. And with that being said, hey, thank you so much for stopping by and checking out this video and staying up until this point. It really means a lot. If you have a moment to spare, please consider liking and subbing down below. And shout outs to the channel members and Patreon members here on the side. You guys are the freaking best. And yes, I am running out of breath. So with that being said, my name is Sai, and I'm signing out. Peace.